Hello, welcome to a webinar from Sinterit. Today we'll be talking about myths around powder handling in SLS. My name is Konrad Głowacki. I'm a co-founder of Sinterit, and here at Sinterit, I'm responsible for products around powders and new powder development. And also, please meet Robert Garbacz.
Hi, I'm Robert Garbacz. I'm head of technical support in Sinterit. It will be a pleasure to be here with you.
Okay, so we need to start with some technical parts. So here we can see on the slide how to ask the questions, and feel free to ask questions during the webinar. Also, we will be answering the question at the end of this on this webinar today. Also, if you would like, you can ask on the chat, so you can ask at the end questions with video and microphone on. So also for all of the participants, you will have an option to get a free sample with the free delivery to you. You will have an option to order it now, or at the end of the webinar, there will be a link to do that. So with other ado, let's move on. So we know that there are a lot of myths around SLS 3D printing. So today we would like to talk about some of them. We think that it's because some of us are used to other technologies for 3D printing, or know SLS 3D printing only from industrial size SLS 3D printing. That's why today we would like to talk about 3 myths around SLS and powder handling in SLS and powder itself. And at the end, we'll share some more knowledge about the powders in SLS and the rules on the maintenance with the powder. So let's dive in.
Hi, again. So the first myth, that the powder is hard to handle and messy. Well, that's why we divided powder handling process into 4 simple steps. The first, there is preparation. So where you're pouring in the powder into the printer. Second one is after the printing, when you're taking out the print cake. Third one is the post-processing, when you're cleaning the printout and all your workspace. And the fourth one is powder refreshing, to make the powder ready to reuse. So, well, for that, you need a full system. So I can only say that we spent many years and many experience creating those accessories. So Sinterit platform will put your printer onto the proper height. Sinterit Lisa or Sinterit Lisa Pro as well, the same platform. Absolute hero of our post-processing Sinterit Access Vacuum Cleaner. Dedicated powder tools, which I will tell you a little bit more later, which hero is the universal bucket and the funnel. Our old and still perfect powder sieve, and Sinterit Sandblaster Extra Large. All those accessories create some sort of full system. So without them, the work in SLS might be a little less efficient. So the first step is to pouring the powder into the printer. And for that, we have 2 heroes, a Sinterit funnel and the I/O box. I/O box because in and out box. So we created them to keep the powder only where it should be. So if you put the I/O box into position powder in, and you use Sinterit funnel, which is fully detachable and compatible with all Sinterit metal buckets, you will not have powder exposed in any other places where the powder shouldn't be. So you only put it into the feedback. I/O box is great because it has 2 functions. The first function, users already know that, is to take the print cake out. We just adapted to pour the powder in with it to not expose the surroundings for the powder. So I/O box is very good for that. The second step is taking the print cake out. And we use with that our all-known I/O box, and foldable tray. This is something new, and in my opinion, one of the best accessories that we have, because foldable tray will limit your powder exposure in your room. So everything that's happens with powder happens in foldable tray. So there is no chance to expose the powder outside the tray, and the tray is foldable and created in a way that you can easily pour the powder out from the tray to the Sinterit sieve without exposing your surface for the powder. The third step is cleaning the printout and the workspace. And here definitely our hero gives a boost to all the process. Sinterit ATEX vacuum cleaner with the powder separator is able to collect powder from the printout, from the print cake, from the surface of the printer, and from the floor. The cyclone separates the powder. When you're taking the powder out of all those surfaces except the floor, the powder separator will separate the powder and put the powder into our universal bucket. So the rest of the powder, all the powder that you collect is in the bucket. When you want to clean the floor, you just simply detach the separator and clean the floor, like a normal vacuum cleaner. But our vacuum cleaner has the ATEX certificates. So all dedicated powder tools are, well, let's say, are effect of years of experience of creating the SLS solutions. So in all our printers, we give you a comprehensive set of powder tools, which saves your time, saves your powder, which means saves your money simply. And you have everything that you need at your working bench, for example, let's call it that way. So so the powder tools are also in the set with the printer. Fourth step is to make the powder ready to reuse, and all the users know these steps, I think, very well. Our long-time hero, Sinterit sieve, which sieves the powder, and after cleaning, after cleaning all the powder, you can put the fresh into the Sinterit sieve. Fresh goes to the bucket, universal bucket, so the powder is refreshed. And the buckets are universal, so we think it through, like, for the part of the solution that is responsible for storaging the powder. So our new packaging, the metal buckets, are reusable because you can use it in all our system. They are humidity tested buckets. They have seal on upper ring, which limits the exposure for moisture, and are safe to storage and transport. So whole Sinterit solution is like everything that we already presented. So dedicated powder tools, universal buckets with funnel. We think about storaging the powder. ATEX vacuum cleaner, absolute hero of post-processing, in my opinion, keeps the powder under control and keeps it clean and easy. And powder sieve keeps the powder ready to be reused again. So here is the whole process. When you vacuuming takes you around 10 minutes, then 18 minutes takes you sieving. You can do all these processes in the same time. So 18 minutes is the calculated time of post-processing. But to be honest, we did it with the person that did it for the first time. Every experienced user, and I mean experience like I did it a few times, can do it in half of that time. So all these accessories are necessary, and full system is necessary to have the work with powder efficient and clean and easy. Okay, so now the Conrad.
Yeah, so I think that's to conclude what Robert said, that it's important to have the full solution for the process to make it easy and without the mess. So the next myth we saw that there is on the market is that powder is expensive, and meaning the powder, I would say it's about the cost per print seen as an expensive in desktop laser sintering machines. And I would like to talk about that now. So to understand that, we need to first think about how the process is cycled in the printing with desktop SLS. So we start with the print-ready powder that we fill in the machine. We have our print process, and out of this print process, we get parts and used powder. And this used powder can be reused. And to do that, we need to sieve it and refresh it with the fresh powder. So we need to add fresh powder into this loop. And exactly this step generates the cost of the printed part. Because there is where we put new powder in. And this ratio, how much of the fresh powder we need to put into the mixture that ends as a print-ready powder, is the key to understand the cost of the printed parts. So we work really hard to minimize this refreshing ratio, how we call it. So the lower percentage of fresh powder is better. And to discuss that, we know that from other competitors, we can get between 50 to 70% of fresh powder needed for refreshing of PA12. For our material, it's just 26% of fresh powder added into the mixture. So it's really comparably really low. It also make it eco-friendly because essentially we use less powder in the whole process. To better understand that, we need to calculate how much costs the print-ready powder, the powder we put into the machine. So we need to take the cost of the fresh powder, which is 120 euros, and use a refreshing ratio, which is 26%. And we get 31.2 euro per kilogram of the print-ready powder that we put into the machine. This is how much this powder will cost you when you do the refreshing cycle. And that's why like this powder cost is comparable with big industrial systems. But you can use the machine with small scale and get what you essentially need locally by yourself. And to compare the real cost, I would like to ask Robert to put some comparison numbers.
Okay, so we did some tests and comparisons, well, this part, for example, might cost you when you are using service provider from 38 euros to 33 euro when you're using Sinterit 3D Service Center. Well, 38 to 46 plus shipping and handling. When you will have the printer, it will cost you almost 14 euros. So, and you have the part in like next day. So it's much cheaper when you are owning the printer. So the next slide is also a comparison of the prices. Well, this is oil cup, regular use ones for the motors. So when you are using service provider, the price is from 17 euros to 26. But when you are using our system properly and using your printer, it will cost you around 5.5 euros. So the price difference is huge, and we're not counting and we're not telling about the time that you need to wait for the part when you're using service providers. So
yeah, that shows that essentially using desktop laser sintering machine with proper refresh ratio can mean that you can really get affordable parts for yourself from SLS printer. But we need to keep in mind one significant part is that it depends how much of parts you put into the volume, because there is one part is how much of powder went directly to the part, how much would cost the refreshing of the whole volume of the printer. So that's why if you print a single unit, it can be more than double the price than if you put multiple of them in the build. And if we go to extreme, to really tiny model, then the cost of single one will be really expensive, but when we compare it to the full bed of these parts, the cost lowers significantly. So that's the exactly how we feel that we need to work with the printers. So essentially, to get affordable printouts, we need to first have a proper refresh ratio of the powder at first to have the cost of the powder low. And then we need to remember that we need to utilize the volume of the printer to make the really cost-efficient printouts. And then we can say the parts are affordable. So, and then let's move to the third myth, which is on powder is not safe as a myth. So I'd like to tell you that, yeah, the powder is safe. Like the powder itself is not toxic, so you can work with it. It's the only place where the powder could. We need to be aware if when we form the dust out of it. But in general, the powder is safe to work with when you work accordingly of the instruction and safety instructions that we provide. But there are questions around that, like, can I touch powder with my bare hands? Yes, you could, but we do not recommend it. A powder, especially PA12, is really make your absorb a lot of moisture. So that's why your hands can get really dry, or for some kind of skins, it can irritate your skin. So we recommend to use gloves, but in principle, you could work without them with the powder. Then it's the question, what happens if I will inhale the powder? So first of all, we do not recommend to inhale the powder. Overall, like whole the process and the safety instruction and instruction of operation prevents from making dust that you could inhale. But in general, powder is safe, and in small quantities, you will be fine. The particle size is big enough that it will get out from your lungs unless there's long-term exposure, but there is no direct risk with inhaling small amount of powder by yourself. So it's safe, but you need to operate it according to instructions. And the third question is powder explosive? Yes. The powder itself is explosive, but it's comparable to flour. You sometimes bake cookies at home, and you know that it's really hard to make it explode. But generally, we build the whole solution that we offer in a way that it's safe to operate it. You need to go according to instructions. Don't have any open fire around or anything that can provide a spark just when you operate the printer, and you will be fine. So that's the crucial thing here. So just read instruction and you will be fine. And the last of the question is, do I need to wear protective gloves, glasses, and mask? The answer is yes, we recommend it because we care about you. But it depends to you if you really need to use all of it, because it depends on how you feel on your work environment, what's your local safety requirements. We provide safety instructions, material safety data sheets that you can adjust wearing, for example, gloves or mask if you really need it. We recommend it because we care, because we think it's better to make it as clean as possible. But overall, it could be safe without that, but it's up to you how you will be working with that. So in general, I think that working with powder is safe, but you need to read instruction and go around the powder according to the safety data sheet. So let's move to the powders, powder side, what we have in our portfolio. So we deliver a really broad spectrum of materials for our desktop laser sintering machines. Currently, we have 6 materials on the market. This is PA12 smooth, which is general purpose PA12 with a really great detail of surface of the printout. So it's great for prototyping and visual prototypes. A second is the performance material PA11 Onyx, which is a strong material with great impact strength and high elongation, which is general use. It's functional prototypes, hard casings, these kind of things. And then we have 4 kinds of rubbers right now, for different usages. First is Flexa Gray for general purpose rubber prototyping, because it's TPU-based material. Then we have Flexa Bright, which is much stronger TPU with elongation above 300%, which is also bright color, so it's great for visual prototypes, and it has ability to dye it into different colors. The third one is Flexa Soft, which have low shore hardness. It's shore A 45 to 58. So it's great for haptic devices, some user interfaces where we really want to have this soft touch. And the last one is TPE, which is mostly dedicated for usage with skin contact, extended skin contact. And also it has an ability to be sealed to make it water and airtight. To addition to these 6 materials, we'll be launching new materials soon, this month. So stay in touch, and we'll have some new materials soon for you, but I cannot talk about that today. And last but not least, what I would like to mention is third-party materials. This is the principle of our company, is that we want to make the system open. So there is an option to work with the machines with third-party materials. We also have a lot of universities developing new materials with our machines and doing some additional tests with really crazy things on that. That's why we believe this is something that it's unique, and this is really needed for the market. So this is also big part on our material as an over. And let's move to the last part from Robert.
Okay, as I am a man of the rules, 6 golden rules of maintaining the power in SLS. So basically 6 things that you need to take care of when you are playing with powder. So you need to always keep it closed, sealed, and in the dry place. Closing properly in the bucket or other airproof containers is absolute must. But if you have any other containers, or you not have 70% of powder into the bucket, use water absorption pads, because if you have 1 kilo in the bucket that is 12, imagine that is 6. Imagine that there is like 5 parts free with air, so the powder will absorb air. So if you have small quantities of powder in the huge metal boxes, use humid absorbers. Wet powder is the powder that is like some sort of clumsy. So you should not use, and the wet powder should not be used in the printer because the effects are not good and you just waste your time. So, and the fourth one is do not leave the powder in the printer or in the sieve for a long period of time. And this is quite super important because usually you are leaving the powder into the sieve and going to do some other things, and then you're returning to the sieve like after 2-3 hours. So this time is a good time for powder to take the humidity in. So imagine that you need to maintain all the rules and all the steps as in the cycle that there is supposed to be. Do not left any powder into these places, and then you will not expose the powder for humid, so you will not have a chance to risk that the powder will get wet. You need to sieve the powder after every printing process. Sieve properly. Properly. Well, the sieve will do the job for you. So if the sieve will sieve the powder will be properly prepared for the next print. When you put a refresher, which is the 6 point, when you mix it with dedicated amount of fresh powder and shake the bucket for like 20 seconds. So 6 super important rules to maintain your powder width. I think that we just show you that there are just truths, not myths about powder handling and powder management. So first one is that powder management is easy to handle and clean, especially when you are using full of our system and a secret hero, Atex vacuum cleaner. Well, the powder is pretty affordable. It's the most affordable solution in the market, and powder is totally safe. So
yeah, so to move on, like the last part before we go into Q&A, because I see that there is a lot of questions in the chat, so we'll be just going through that shortly. But before we move to there, I just want to remind you that there is an option for all of you to get a free sample box with free deliver. There will be a link in the chat and probably also with a mail afterwards. And also you can book a call with our sales team, which they have also a lot of knowledge on our materials and the full offer. So you can then let them know more about what's your needs, your application in an industry, and they will find a suitable solution for you. Also, if you will have some special requirements or special materials to be used, also please contact us. We'll let you know more about what will be possible in the short future, because we continuously expand our offer and our material portfolio. So there is a high chance that we'll have some great solution for you in near future. So I think right now we can, I would like to thank you for this part, and let's move to the questions because there's a lot of them. So.
I also want to thank you.
Yes.
That was great. Well, this time no drilling, no wall demolishing. So I also want to thank our administration for that.
Yes. So if Tomek, if you could. Okay, so let's move one by one. So are all powders compatible with original Lisa? Almost. It depends which version of the printer you own. Best if I think you could contact the support with
yes, I will answer that simply.
Sorry?
So maybe I will answer that.
Yeah,
simply.
okay.
Okay, so if you have Sinterit Lisa Pro, yes, all of your powders are compatible with original Lisa. And if you have Lisa since 2018, yes, all of your powders are compatible with the original Lisa. Well, I mean all, not those that requires nitrogen, because nitrogen is only required in Lisa Pro. Previous version of Lisa, so the first one, like 2016 and the beginning of 2017, are not compatible with Flexosoft only. But the late 2018, 2019, and 2020 devices all devices are compatible with all rubber materials, PA12, and I think that I just answered all these questions.
Yeah, like just need to keep in mind that some of the materials are available only with higher tier of the software. So just keep in mind that you might need to get the higher tier of the software. For that, you can also contact our team and discuss an options around that.
Well, maybe two for me, one for you. So, okay. What's the maximum amount of time the powder should be left in the sieve, Mr. Ring Oliver? So, I think that as short as you can. To be honest, when the sieve stops sieving and you finish the process, you just need to close the bucket, and you can leave it into the sieve, but you need to close it and seal it, because when you're finishing the process, powder starts to be a little bit cold. It starts to absorb moisture. So it's best just finish the sieving and close the bucket. And you can leave it in the sieve, but you need to just cover it and seal it with the bucket seal. This is for Conrad, definitely.
Yes, yes. No, like our experience is that there is not a problem with humidity, but for general purpose, we also require, like, we also ask you to cover that in case like we don't put the open bucket out to outside world, so like outside the window or something like that. So like we recommend to seal it, but there is no like we haven't had any issue with that would require drying of the powder from rubber, so it's not an issue at all. So thank you, Kamil, for the question.
Conrad, it's your thing.
Yes, yeah. So lifetime of the powder. Essentially, what we experience that the refresh ratio that we provide for PA12 is the refresh ratio that enables to essentially work with a powder continuously. But you need to keep in mind to minimize exposure for the moisture around in like when the printer stops printing and after the sieving process. So when properly mixed, it should be working continuously. We right now we give 12 months shelf life of the powder, but you know when you mix in the fresh powder, and like we haven't found any issue with that. If you continuously print at least once a month or something like that, there should be not a problem with the lifetime of the powder. It will just keep being reused and reused. Thank you, Andreas, for the question. Yes, like Patricia Ortiz, using a room dehumidifier can help to reduce moisture in the powder. Yes, it could in some way to prevent adding the moisture into the powder, but it will not remove it back. So we have a process to remove it. If like there are some situations when you could use some special process to remove it, the moisture out of it. The most important is that the printer and the whole process shouldn't work below 45% of humidity. So completely dry climate room is not recommended.
Well, maybe me. Hi, JR. We do not recommend to dehydrating there is no need to dehydrate the powder before and or after it comes out of the printer. Well, if you store it properly and if you do the process since the start till since the beginning to the end, by the end I mean you're finishing the sieving and then you're closing the bucket, you don't need to dehydrating the powder. As I remember, you deliver both types of powders, fresh and print-ready. Does it mean that you sell mixture of previously used recycled powder with the fresh one once you offer print-ready? Well, now we are offering the starter powder. So, but yeah. Yes, definitely. It's a mixture of used powder and the fresh powder in some sort of special mix. That's why we call it starter powder. But
Yeah, so like right now we call it started powder, and yes, it's this is the mixture that we deliver when you get your machine. So you have easy start with the machine. You just put this powder in, and you can just make a job the same way that you would do the next following job and following job and following job. So this is the purpose why we deliver such a mixture from us.
Totally.
Hello, Patricio. Yes, it's possible to have like such parts. Of course, like elongation and break depends on your application. Right now, we have PA11 Onyx, which is which has around 50% elongation and break. So for some of these applications, for sure, this will be proper material. So you can get some dedicated samples from you for you if you will ask us around that. So, but yes, definitely it's possible right now with PA11 Onyx for sure. So, hello, Vincent. That depends on the material itself. So, so the average granulation of our powders is between 38 micrometers on PA12 smooth, 40 on PA11 Onyx, up to 72 in FlexaSoft. So this is this depends on the material.
Yes, there is. Is there a special workflow to switch materials? Yes, there is. If you are having the ATEX vacuum cleaner, it's much easier, but it's also described in the user manual and in the printer.
Yeah, I think we could tell a little bit more on that. So so essentially, when we switch from PA12 and PA11, you just need to do the cleaning process and switch to the rubbers that have lower melting temperatures. And when you move back, there is also cleanup necessary, but it's just, I think, how much time would it take with ATEX vacuum cleaner, Robert?
Like 20 minutes top.
Yeah.
Or
from rubber back to PA12, because when you work with rubber, there's a melting point below the temperatures we hit the PA12 and PA11. So if you don't clean it properly, it will burn within the printer. So that's why it's like really detailed cleaning that 20 minutes will be doing the job to do the full switch.
Yeah, but in our system there is a special step, which means that material switch. So
yeah, so just you have the whole instruction how to do that on the machine. So
okay. Conrad wants to answer all the questions. So
sorry. Maybe Robert, maybe let's go. I will maybe add some things.
How many times you can refresh the powder before throwing all the batch? If you refresh the powder in the proper refresh ratio and you haven't it dry, you can use it endlessly. To be honest, well, we don't have signals when the powder is dry that it's degrading, because the refreshing the powder avoid and keeps and prevents powder for degrading. So I think more than 1-2 years if you maintain it dry.
I would just add one thing. There's on the like Flexa materials, sometimes you can get, depending on the things what you print, you can get some degradation the quality, but still it's dozens of like 5 to 15 cycles before there needs to be added some more powder or refreshing of the powder. So but never it's throwing away the batch. It's more about adding some more of the for recycling. Okay, thank you, Roger, for this question. Yeah.
In a few days, I will be printing using FlexiGray, more flexible. In the latest version of Sinterit Studio, I have FlexiGray version 1 and version 2. What is the difference between them? And is this the same powder? Yes, the powder is the same. The difference between them that the version 2 is our newest update, so it's the dimensions and all little details, well, when printing and some sort of print adjustments. Well, I mean, the things that printer does when it prints are updated. So you should use version 2. We remain with version 1 because, for example, we did a huge improvement in shrink ratio with the version 2, so we can keep it a little bit more under control. So, but some our customers, when they orientate the parts in not proper way, they had some different results. That's why they make in CAD they make their models bigger. Just to after sintering process, after printing, just to have the same size of the part, same dimension of the part. But because they just adjust it to the reality of the printer. And with the version 2, the printer is more strict, so the reality is more tight. So that's why we keep them both. So we keep the version 1 for the customers who already make the parts adjusted to the printer, and the version 2 if they want to check how the printer works with the latest update. So if you're printing the part for the first time, you should use version 2. Definitely always use version 2. I hope there will be version 3, 4, 5, or 7 just to get better and better and better. This is the Conrad thing.
Yes. And like it depends. Then it depends. Of course, this is similar way, similar color structure, but I cannot tell that exactly the same coloring process will result in exactly same color code as MGF printed parts. So. Essentially, the all dyeing processes that work with HP printers will also work with our part for sure. But the color codes, I'm not certain. Yeah, this is to be tested with the delivery, with the provider of the system.
Conrad, do your thing. You can read the question.
Okay, so from Patricia Ortiz, is it possible to place metallic threaded inserts after the part is made using a heated gun, the way is used in FDM parts? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like it's possible, but you need to leave a space for that. So it's like PA12 material is better resisting on this heat. So you need to leave some room for the inserts, and yes, you could put it in.
So your costs presented are about direct powder and refresh. The other cost of the competitors are having the cost of machine workers. So are they comparable? Well, they are. We decide that many other manufacturers also present their costs only based on the powder that is inside the part and the powder that is needed to refresh. They are definitely comparable because the work and the energy, etc., is a small percent or some percent of that, but they are definitely comparable. Imagine that you have 170 pieces. So dividing the cost through 170 pieces is just like make this cost minimum per piece. So yes, some of companies presenting the costs with workers, energy, machine depreciation, and so on. But a bigger part of them are just presenting the how much powder is inside the part and how much refresh powder is needed. But if you want to have exact pricing for your part, you should ask through our 3D printing service center, and then some of us will contact you and tell you, well, this is the cost of that you need to pay when you're having the machine, including all of those that are interesting you. Also, we have them calculated, so it will be definitely the thing that you want to know. So just send us an email with the parts that we need to price for you, and then we will price it with the costs of machine workers and so on and so on.
Thank you, Plummer.
To dry the powder at 100 Celsius degrees is still an available while for around 3 hours. Yes, I think 100 degrees, stirring it from time to time, leaving it for 2 or 3 hours, it also do the job.
Okay, so thank you, Kamil, for the question. So essentially, we adjusted the tensile strength based on our long-term exposure for long-term tests that we did. So this is that's the values that we know that works continuously. So it's not a test with the fresh powder of the first batch of powder. Right now, these are the numbers that we know that work continuously. But with the first results, you can get better values for sure than what's in our datasheet. But in general, this is the minimum values that we know that will work.
Well, what post-processing processes did you use for sample parts? Well, we did only clean the part printouts and sandblast them. Well, basically all those parts. If you have rubber material that is colored, we just dye it. But if you mean PA11, PA12, all Flexa materials, we just took them out from the print cake, cleaned them, sandblast them with Sandblaster extra large, and they are ready. And the surface is just the surface that is printed. So you will also have the same surface at your place. What should I do with excess powder? Well, because when I refresh all the time, the powder is so much to use all of it. Yes, it is. It's common SLS things that you are generating more and more powder. Well, the simple solution for that is if you have like 10 liters of powder that is excess, so you have 20 liters of powder, please print with this powder 3 times without refreshing, so it will definitely compare the cost of this powder, because when you are not refreshing it, you're just leaving this, so you will be on zero total, and then throw the powder out. So you can print with our powders 3 times, even more, without refreshing it. But if you stop refreshing it after the first time, you don't need to refresh it after second or third time, because the degradation process already started. So you will definitely shorten your lifespan of the powder. But if you have a lot of powder, you can use it without refreshing and throw it out. 3 times you can print without refreshing.
And also this is why also we really work hard to lower the refresh ratio to minimize the amount of powder that it's getting left from the process. And we also continuously working on that to make it even lower. So so we are trying to make it even more efficient. As Robert told, you can print with this. And as soon as you see that it's not enough quality for you, just stop using that.
Well, the powder will be a little bit brownish. You will observe that powder starts to be a little bit brownish. So if you observe that after 3-4 times that powder starts to be a little bit brownish, just throw it away. This is for Conrad. Or maybe for me.
Yeah, it's for you. I just
experienced some petals in the chamber after Sinterit. What could be origin of these petals or flaps at the bottom part? Well, because when we starting a sintering powder in our machine, we need to create some sort of safety environment for starting the print, and we heat up the chamber pretty fast. So if you're sintering layer with layer, when you're penetrating it with the laser, you're not penetrating only one layer, you're penetrating like 3 of those layers or 4 of those layers, even more. So that's why when you're starting the print, there is some petals at the bottom, but you should minimize it when you position everything 45 degrees. Or if you mean when you're sandblasting, when you're taking the print cake out and you see some small parts of the powder, small flat parts of the powder that's left after printing, not the part quality, but some Sinterit powder, which is not the part, but it's on the very, very bottom. It's totally okay. It's the part of creating a safe environment for printing, for start printing.
So what's the maximum build time you would recommend? The question from Alex. There is no maximum build time. That we know that all the materials we deliver will work to whatever part you could fit into the bed and slice it, and it will just work. So
yeah. So Conrad will not have his limitations. I would prefer to have it like 125 hours because it's a working day. So since Monday to Friday. Well, it's also good because you will not leaving the powder exposed. If your print process finish on Saturday evening, then you need to leave it and you cannot go to the company. You need to leave it like for almost 2 days just to take the powder out. So the best thing is like 125, or if you go beyond the weekend. So that's it. Just always plan the cycle not to expose the powder for humidity for a long time.
Okay, from Deepak Gupta. It's true that we need to add carbon fillers into third-party materials for best printing results. For general SLS materials, yes, that are not designed for diode lasers, that's true that there's a carbon black addition or any other filler absorber of laser that's necessary. But also there are third-party materials on the market that already absorb the laser itself. So this depends on what's the base materials that you would like to use from third party, how it's built in. So that for some of them, yes, that's necessary. For some of them, not. It's not needed.
How can you completely clean the printer? The material keeps stuck to the walls, which can reuse problems later. Well, the material sticks to the walls because there are heaters there, but you can clean it with the plastic spatula. It's very important to clean it time after time, because when you scrub it with the plastic spatula, it won't get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you should need to clean it every time with the plastic spatula. Just clean as much as you can, and it will be totally okay.
Okay. Can the mechanical properties of a part vary if you're using new or recycled material? So essentially at the beginning you might get a little bit better mechanical properties, but it will stabilize. So it's the values we provide, it's stabilized values that we tested after at least 5 cycles, between 5 to 10 cycles. And for PA12, that's that results that we did with the material that it's in the loop from 2-3 years now. So we are certain that this stable values. At the beginning, you might get better values than that.
Okay, so I just read it. Dominic, thanks. So thanks, Dominic. So print ready V2 mixed with the rest of V1 is not possible. If you definitely have to switch to fresh version 2. Well, if you do, well, I think if you do it in, I think small steps, yeah, it's totally possible.
So I think that if you use the mixing ratio from V1, it's not a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. Yeah. But of course, you need to try it.
Can you explain the choice of the vacuum you have included in the system versus standard shop vac? Well, yeah, I can. Well, standard shop vacuum cleaner might get exploded after first exposing, because, well, powder particles, when they are friction, they create electricity, so they just might.
Maybe I'll take this question. Like I did deeper the research on that, if possible, Robert. So essentially, the difference is that in shop vacuum, the exhaust gases go through the engine, so it's exposed to heat and potential electrostatic charge and electrostatic spark. So of course, it's not likely that it will explode, but it's the source of the spark. So in some really rare condition, that will be dangerous for you. And also the powder, as Robert mentioned, gets electrostatic built up on all the surfaces of vacuum, so it will hit you with electrostatic shock for sure. So that's why we selected ATEX vacuum cleaner, because it's certified that it will be fine for whole the operation. And really, this is completely no-brainer how you use it. You will work fine with it.
Also for Conrad. So go ahead.
Yes, so to do that, you can use TPE material and use sealer that we deliver for TPE. So that's why you can, with this material you can get this kind of printout.
Oh, drying in microwave oven is not a good idea, because, well, the particles inside the polyamides are really, really tough to get out of the system. I think the microwave oven just heat up from an inside, so it makes the powder melted. So I don't think that you should use microwave oven, or you can use it if you want to destroy the oven. Normal kitchen oven do the job.
Yeah, so not microwaving, please. Yeah, so the general post-processing for rubber material, so it's to select the right rubber, and for TPE, you can use sealer. For other TPUs that we have an offer, you can use external providers for TPU smoothing surfaces and get them watertight. And for PA12 and PA11, what we can recommend you is coating and as a solution for making them watertight. But this is something that we cannot provide you like detailed recommendation. This is something that you could do on your own.
Oh, you can also, Conrad, explain it.
To clean properly rubber prints, so for that purpose, cleaning underwater could also work better. It's okay to do that. Also, there is a way to clean it with dry ice, but we don't have yet solution on that. But there is some other ways that could be tried. It's of course depend on your application where you would like to use this part.
Robert, you mentioned, thank you. Now it's mine time. So, Ed Robert, you mentioned that you can still. Thank you, Wesley. Again, really, I appreciate. Ed Robert, I will tell it again. You mentioned that you can still use unrefreshed powder up to 3 times before throwing it away, but I assume this would introduce orange skin and process, etc., in your parts, essentially degrading the quality of the parts you are printing. And as a result, this technique can really be used when you are printing parts for third parties. Well, we did some tests, and we observed that if you print with powder 2 or 3 times, you print it without any loss of quality and so on. Well, definitely, let's start from the beginning. So we still talking about managing of the powder that is in excess. So you have a batch of perfectly fresh powder which can be given to the customer. So you, for example, you can build up the build after second time when you see the little bit orange peel. After sometimes you need to basically throw the powder out, but you can still have this powder just to print some things that are not for those customers. But 3 times, and we did not observe that. After 3 times, 2-3 times, we observed a huge quality drop. Yeah, orange skin sometimes, cold marks, which we call them, and a color porosity. So yeah, after 3 times, yes. I think the first and the second times you can easily compare the parts to the normal powder, normal part that is freshed one by one. One time by one. So yeah. So I mean, like, yes, okay. So the 3 times is okay. After 3 times, you might get troubles, and that's it. I clean a lot and carefully the print chamber, but when I switch from TPU to PA12, I have the above mentioned problem. It seems some powder remains stuck in too bad gasket. Well, yes, but first you can contact our technical support and we'll guide you through the process with a little bit of tips and tricks how to do it. Because, for example, you when you're switching from TPU to PA12, it's very good just to pour some powder, go with the print and feedback down and up a few times. Now in the newest menu, it's possible to make it automatically. Just click print a minimum and then the print goes down. So because, well, everything is about to fill the gaps between the metals with the particles of powder that has a higher melting point. That's the thing. When there are some powders from TPU, if there are some particles from TPU, they will stick into the walls. But when they are mixed with the PA12, I think there will not be a problem. So please contact us, technical support, and we will tell you how to make this process more efficient. We can help you with it also on video chat or something like that.
Okay, so we have a question from Vincent Modena about the costing model, and the question is about if the numbers showed are purely material costs or does include the machine investment cost. So we included only material costs here. You can contact our sales department and you can get the full breakdown also with other costs, so we can help with full evaluation, because it's also depends how many parts on what kind of parts you want to print. And we have a question from Jim Lee. Will post annealing the printed part help improve the physical properties of the part? Yes. So annealing, especially for P12 and P11, could extend the mechanical properties out of that. We don't have some special recommendation yet for that, but this is at least from what we know from the publications, that this can help with the mechanical properties of the part. So,
Konrad?
so we have a question about drying TPU. So, dear Tiziano, I think we haven't had any issue with moisture with TPU till
Yeah, it doesn't absorb moisture, but if you expose it to 100 degrees, you
will.
don't have to you don't have to heat it. Well, TPU doesn't absorb moisture, so if you have some sort of thoughts or conclusions, or you think that your TPU is not like it should be, just contact us and we will tell you, and we will evaluate your TPU. But definitely TPU doesn't absorb a lot of moisture.
Yeah, and we will not recommend you 100 degrees because the softening point for our TPUs is 60, 67, 75
Melting
degrees.
point, even melting point, I think is lower than that.
No, melting point are above, but the softening is below 100. So if you have any issue with TPU or rubber materials in this, you feel that might be connected to humidity, please contact our support, and Robert's team will help you for sure.
Okay. One more thing. Do you have a list of consumable printer components that need to be replaced regularly? Preventive maintenance? Yes, we do have such a things, and please contact your distributor or contact our sales department or technical supports, and we will provide you with this list. Okay, Konrad and Robert, in Sinterit Studio, you can define print surface temperature offset. Grzegorz once advised me to move it up to 0.5, but I would like to understand the dynamics behind this parameter, or in other words, between this parameter and the observable powder quality. Hope this question is sufficiently clear. Well, it is. Well, sometimes there are different factors. And we've discovered that you have. Well, it's quite a rare thing that starts from the beginning to raising the temperature 0.5, especially sometimes when the room is not in the same temperature that we calibrate the machines. Because, well, let's start from that. We calibrate our machines in room temperature, let's say 21 to 24 degrees. So, for example, during the hot summers, our temperature in calibration chamber, imagine like 50, 60 printers printing at once, and even with air condition, is a little bit higher. So although we just makes this temperature stable, sometimes you need to cheat cheat a temperature reading. For example, if you have like 19 degrees in your office, so it means like it's like sometimes it's even 7 or 8 degrees. Temperature outside the printer is 80 degrees lower than when the printer was calibrated. So sometimes you need to move it up to 0.5. Sometimes you need to move it down. It's very rare. That's why you just contact Grzegorz.
Okay, so we have a question from Stefan. Hello, Stefan. When I change a material from Flexa Black to Flexa Gray, is there still a request to clean very carefully, or is Flexa Gray and Black nearly the same because the melting point is the same? Maybe I'll take this, Robert. Yes, it's the same, so you don't need to clean it. There might be some remaining from the Flexa Black somewhere in the area, but this shouldn't affect your print quality.
Do the pyrometers have to be recalibrated for new materials appearing in the stock? No, nothing. There is no need to recalibrate the pyrometers appearing with the new materials. We will take care of it by the software update if it will be needed, but no, it is not. We have everything under control. Yeah.
So essentially, what I can add, we really extensively work on the new materials to be compatible with all of our machines. So there is no additional work to be done to introduce new material in all machines, compatible in all machines in offer.
Are your materials usable in other Sinterit machines like Fuse One by Formlabs? Well, you need to test it. I think that I don't know if their system will allow you for that. But I hope yes.
Yeah, like we cannot tell anything because we don't know how it will operate, especially if it can work with so broad spectrum of materials that we have, and we continuously work to expand that with new materials.
Yeah, but having their machine on the market is such a great thing. Just to make the market of small SLSs more popular is great. Konrad.
Okay, so thank you very much for your questions.
I also want to thank you for your attention and all the questions. Yes, they were perfectly great.
Yeah, I think the most beneficial for us is to hear all of that questions and be able to answer all of them. I wish that we covered what you wish to, and let's see each other on the next webinar.
Yeah, thank you. It was absolute pleasure.